Hey guys, welcome back to the channel here with Money Thumper. So I'm gonna do a quick little video. I realize a lot of people are looking to buy these older machines, like the older Argos, and there's not many videos on them, so I'm making this one as well just to help some people out. So this is gonna be my buyer's guide on if I think an old machine is gonna be worth buying, and just some pointers because I've had this one apart. I might pull it apart again soon to add some accessories, but so I am getting more and more familiar with these machines. So I'm going to treat you guys as if you're looking at your first Argo. Maybe you had one years ago and just wanted a little refresher on what to be looking for. So let's do it. Let's dive on in, and I'll show you the reasons why I bought this one, and if I was to buy one again, what I'll be looking for. Okay, so this machine here, she is a 17 horsepower Kohler 1984 Argo 8-wheeler. It's amphibious. They're all supposed to be amphibious. They're supposed to be floating. Basically mini tanks that you can own, workhorse, use it for recreational trouting, fishing, whatever you like essentially. Some people use them as plows. Some people just have them as farm machines. But alright, so let's say we're going to check out one of these machines here now. So you can see I got some points that might be sticking out to you right away. One of the best checks, or one of the first checks you're going to be doing, you're going to walk up the machine, you're going to assess the condition. So you want to be looking at the tub. These tubs are basically two halves. So you have the top part that comes off, and your bottom part, which is your main part. That's where all the wheels are going through, all your axles, and your bearings are mounted, and you want that typically watertight depending on the functionality. So one of the first things you want to be doing is going around the machine. So you don't want nothing like this, like loose grading. Ideally, you want it all looking factory. You don't want no cut in the rubber. I'm going to be replacing this as well. I'm just showing you for demonstration purposes. But ideally, you don't want no holes, nothing random like maybe random brackets that are left here. No paint, no added on wood. I've seen these bolted on, like with bolted on wooden enclosures. Ideally, you want a nice shape as can be, essentially. So there is a lot of these out here, especially I'm in Newfoundland, and we do have a nice few. Another major thing you're going to want to be looking at in terms of the body, like the actual, just the structure, check down the front of them. These are typically low to the ground, so if you have a person operating them, they're not as familiar, you can pretty much expect that you'll be broken up down here. So you can see like the bolts, that's the outer exterior skid plate. Inside is basically, we'll call it the hull or the main tub of the machine. Oftentimes you hit a rock hard enough, you might damage the skid plate and damage the structural integrity of the plastic, basically this material that you see here. So make sure you examine it well. You might want to take like a flashlight, hop underneath the machine, like up on an angle. Make sure there's no cracks, no damage, no plating. You want nothing along those lines. The best shape you can be is going to be ideal. Another thing on that note, a lot of people are buying these machines to go trouting or in something in a pond, cross pond to go to a cabin. With the older ones, you had to be extremely critical of stuff like that. If you see a crack down there, if you see like plow brackets added on, the thing might not be structural and watertight essentially. It might be sound mechanically and can certainly be a drivable machine, but if you want it to float, keep them on these older machines. It's a lot more critical to be really particular, looking for cracks and seals and potential output. Another big spot for water tightness is the axles. So after you give the machine a good look over in terms of just the overall like plastic, you're going to want to start focusing on the other things, because it kind of tells you how the machine was kept and what kind of condition it's in. So you can see this one's really dirty. I had this out on a moose hunting trip. Haven't washed it since, so it's dirty, but you can see there's no rips in the seat. There's no rips back here. It's just dirt. The panel, got that off, all laid over here. My bilge pumps are laid out of the way because I'm replacing the battery. But overall, you want to inspect the general condition of the machine. Just the same as anything else. If you're buying a car, you want to make sure the more you can see it like this, untampered, the better it is, typically. So a few more things, aside from what we were just talking about. Ideally, you want it as clean as possible. Keep in mind, some of the newer machines, they'll actually have gauges, like they'll have an hour gauge, they'll have like an amp meter gauge. You want to make sure that that works. If you see like an hour gauge, turn the machine on, wait around a little bit of time, see if it actually clocks up and the time's up the way it's supposed to. Make sure the gauges would be working properly. And then it's going to be the same as well. You want to make sure your choke is functionally, pull it in, see if the machine dies, see if it starts up if she's cold. Turn your lights on, see if they come on as well. So also aside from that, another thing you might want to be looking for is any oxidation. So like you can see on the spots that's not dirty, this machine is rather clean. If I wash this off and add some wax, it'll be nice and shiny. But machines that are typically left outside, they'll have more of that luster, like the dust there, so that it'll be faded and oxidized, the plastic will be. And then outside of that, that's mainly like what you're looking for in terms of the body and condition. So just on basic visual inspections, the other thing you're going to want to be looking at is tires. So you see these has like the factory swimming tires, or if you want to call them amphibious tires. So upon first glance, they look like they're a nice tire, eh? So it looks like they're nice and new, hardly used. But let's go down here now. I think it's down around here. You might see some more. Yeah, you'll see some dry rot down here. One of my tires. Yeah, look at the dry rot. See if I can zoom you guys in. Look at all the cracks in the tires there. So it might look like they're nice tires, but all this cracks and stuff, these tires are shot. So I'm going to be adding on, swapping the tires off on this machine, part of my to-do list. But that's extremely important. Your tires, if you got a 6-wheeler, you're replacing 6 tires. If you got an 8-wheeler, it gets even more expensive. So if you replace them with like a mud tire, you're looking at probably $200 something Canadian per tire, times that by 8. It might overrun the price of the machine, really, what you're getting it for. So keep that, that's really important. Same with rims. You want to look around, make sure that you don't have any huge dents. Like you can see, this one's pretty good. This one has a dent down here. But that's the main components, the overall structure of the body and the wheels and rims. That's going to cost you a lot of money. Everything else, for myself being a mechanic, it's fixable. Keep in mind, if you're not mechanically inclined, these machines are extremely simple. It might be a bit hard to work on. Some things are in awkward places. But if you're willing to learn, you can easily do all the maintenance yourself on these. I'm going to be doing all kinds of videos all the time. So anyone has any questions about repairing it, drop me a line. I'll certainly help you out. But alrighty, so we just kind of talked about the tires briefly and the body. The next main thing is the hidden thing. So you can see down here, it looks pretty good, eh? It looks pretty good down there. We have to pull up and inspect what's underneath these panels. Never buy an Argo without looking down here, because this is all plastic. As you know, this is kind of like a boat, kind of like a bilge. Any water, any dirt is going to build down here. So this is going to be where she's going to rust out quickly. This is your frame and structure integrity. So I'm going to pop this out of the way and show you guys a little bit down here, and we'll have a look. So just haul off this rear panel. You can see everything's still soaking, but it's nice, black and shiny. It's actually wet because I had this machine parked outside for about a week. I had to organize my whole shed, all this stuff, so I just parked her outside and kind of left her for a week. So this section might have been the longest time it's been parked outside. When I first got this machine a year ago, it had factory paint right here. I had it all clean and dry. I threw on some primer, threw some extra paint on her, just to keep the longevity. But when you're looking down here, you want to inspect the main frame, and you see that metal, we'll call it sheet metal down there. That should not be replaced. It shouldn't be fiberglass. There shouldn't be nothing funky going on there. It should be just nice, clean metal frame. That actually comes right out of the machine if you wanted to disassemble it far enough. But this is kind of where you see your longevity and your life of your machine. If someone that properly looks after it, they'll have it nice and cleaned up. It'll be painted. If it's in good shape, it might not be painted depending on how new the machine is. The chains, they should be clean. You shouldn't see any rust down here. I went and looked at a used Argo one time. I was thinking on buying it. It's a little 6-wheeler, kind of stopped about here. And Hauled up the panels. I was debating on buying it. She was a bit smoky, like running, like the piston rings were bypassing a bit. But hauled up the panels. This was completely gone. And to do this properly, without like, because if you think about it, you have to weld in order to repair metal for the most part. You would actually have to take a full Argo apart, and you'd have to take this base pan out, which involves pretty much removing everything on the machine and your wheels and your axles. It's just a lot of work. Good for a project, but that's a major component. Now, it's not to deter anyone. If you do want a major project and you do buy something with the floors gone, you can repair it. There's no questions asked. But when you're looking at a machine to buy, if you can avoid it, you're better off avoiding it. So you're always wanting to inspect your axles, your chains, your chain tensioners. You see those little blocks down there. The ends for your bearings there, like the bearing holders. And it's going to be the same with the front there. It'll kind of tell you how this machine was looked after. So then eventually, after you go through the whole machine, you're going to want to pop the hood off. Take a look at the condition of the engine. Make sure it's not missing anything. You don't want it wired like a horrible mess. Like, this is not too bad of a job. I did this wiring, so I'm comfortable with it. If you see like a lot of random wires, like just odd colors that shouldn't be there, it's probably been tampered with. If you're really electrical inclined, like I can build harness and stuff, that wouldn't be a deterrent. But if you're not on that side just yet, you're going to want to avoid it, because if someone's running random wires, that could be a nightmare, a potential fire hazard. It could be rather serious. So you do want to keep that in effect, or keep that in mind. But that's pretty much all it for the major components. If you have a jack, ideally, sometimes this doesn't happen when you're buying a used machine, because I've bought lots of machines over the years. What you could do with a jack as well is jack one side of the machine up and just try to wiggle the wheels. Look in here, look out here. There should be no play whatsoever. Because keep in mind, these machines were designed to be watertight. Any play like that is going to cause your axles to wear out prematurely. It's going to wear your bearings down. It's going to cause potential ways for water to get in if you want a watertight floating machine. So you certainly want to check that out. When the older you get, unless it was taken care of, they're getting harder to be floaters, because they'll usually leak somewhere. Now, for the most part, it's fixable. Just keep it all in mind and keep it in perspective. And lastly, guys, when you go to buy a machine, you want to test drive it. So also keep in mind, just before I forget, some of these machines, like this one here, they have heater fans installed. So when you're looking underneath the hood there, you'll see like the fan coming down. It goes down, cools your braking. When you turn the key on, that should come on with it. If it doesn't, that fan might not be working. Might be an electrical issue. Could be just a fan burnt out. Something to investigate. Also, those dry belts, that's what drives the whole machine. That shouldn't be frayed, rotted, nothing like that. But yeah, back on that note, lastly, when you go to look at a machine, like a used one to buy, you want to start her up cold. I'll start this one up for you guys if you like. I got the battery temporarily out, because as I was saying, I was getting ready to do, I'm going to be doing a bunch of work to this machine. But you go to start it, you don't want to have much, if any, white smoke coming out. You don't want it to be heavily smoking. If you've got a machine that smokes constantly, unless someone's lying to you, most likely it's either blocked with like seafoam, or the piston rings are certainly bypassing, because it should not be smoking like a train, that's for sure. So make sure you take it for a test spin. Coming off your engine, you have your belt that goes down here to the transmission. Coming off the transmission, not sure if you can see it with the lighting, you have a drivetrain or a drive chain, double chain. It's sprocketed, and then you can see the back of it in here, if the lighting's half decent, is a disc brake, because that's how the machine stops. If these are wore down, these are expensive to replace, these sprocket discs. So inspect those really well. If they're worn down, the chains, the bearings, the sprockets, this is the longevity, the driving of the machine. It can get quite costly to replace. But when you go to start the machine up, make sure she's not smoking. She should be idling perfect, idling nice and good, and take her for a test drive. Don't be afraid to pull in on the levers, put her in high, put her in low. These machines turn on a dime, so when you pull that lever back, if you give her lots of throttle, she should theoretically turn in one spot not need to go far. You shouldn't have to fight with this machine to turn it. That's the design of them. If they got the tracks on, they'll be a little bit harder to turn with tracks on, that's for sure, because of all the traction. But they shouldn't be hard to turn. So if they are, like say you're pulling on the lever, it's kind of wanting to go straight still, doesn't want to turn much. The brake calipers or the pads or all of it needs to be looked at, which gets costly and can also be like more time essentially. With myself, I don't have as much time to be working on things, so maybe you're in the same situation that time is certainly valuable. So any extra thing that you don't have to do that gets you out in the woods or gets you in the pond or gets you out working and plowing snow, whatever you're trying to do, that's going to be a bonus to myself, and I'd imagine to yourself as well. Any extra time you don't have to work on it is always a positive. All right, I will open the door up here. I'll just use my booster cables, show you what this one runs like, because if you're buying an old machine, she should be running just like this thing. When I bought this one myself, if you follow my channel, I bought this one with a blown engine and I got a good deal on it. And the funny part is she came with a spare engine, and this one runs great. It's a little bit smoky, but for the sake of it and how much I use this older machine, I don't mind it at all. It's perfect for what I need. All right, let's go ahead. Let's pop this garage open. Let's see if the girl wants to run before she gets some major maintenance, accessories, and a little bit of overhaul. Okay guys, we're out here in the machine. I got a temporary battery hooked up. You can see the booster cables down there and down here. Just to show you guys what an Argo should sound like. Now keep in mind, there's a lot of engine variations. There is different transmissions. You can get like an Admiral transmission. This is the classic Argo, classic transmission. Basically, you pull the lever back. She kind of operates like a skid steer, like she goes left or right. With the other ones, like the Admirals, some people enjoy them more. This machine right here is just as capable with the old machine or old transmission. So don't let that deter you. But let's go ahead. I'll give her a little bit of choke. And when I turn the key on, you should hear the fan kick in, like the brake fan. And I don't have it hooked up at the moment, keep in mind. You do want to make sure you're kind of in neutral or high or something so you kind of know which gear you're in. Oh, I'm one of them now. Well, anyways, let's see if we start her up and see which one we ends up in. Okay, guys, I got her put over in reverse here now. I had to play around with the booster cables. One was a bit loose. Let's go ahead and you'll hear the brake fan kick in. That's how you know that that works. And we'll try starting her and we'll see what she runs like, just so you guys can hear her. Cold. Lay this down here now. See, she runs pretty good. This is the one I swapped the engine on. One thing I need to do on this one, because I swapped the engine and I kind of forgot about doing it at the time, I need to actually swap the fuel pump, which is down in here. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but I'll do that. You can hear her dragging a little bit, like hard to start. That's because the fuel pump is gone. Battery's a good battery, but also that's another good thing to know about these old machines. If you try to start one and it takes a long time, say it takes 2 or 3 minutes to start, you either have a weak fuel pump or you have maybe carb issues, because they shouldn't be that hard to start. When they pulls the fuel up into the carb, as long as you got good compression and spark, she should be firing. Alright guys, let's hop out of this thing here. Yeah guys, that's a quick rundown. I'm sure I definitely forgot things, because like any machine, there's a lot of components that you do want to be checking out, but make sure you got the main parts. Take her for a test spin. You don't want no chain binding. if you try to turn and all you hear is a chain slapping a lot of times, that's not good. That's just probably stay away from that. Get that fixed before you buy it. But a lot of things can go wrong, but also these are simple machines, so not necessarily always the end of the world. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the little video here. If you have something that I might have forgot, throw it down in the comments below. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it down below. Do appreciate it. I'll do my best to get back to you, which I'm usually pretty quick with it. But anyways guys, take care. I'm going to get ready to do some work here now, and we'll start the next project. Alright guys, take care. See you later.